Hello everyone, welcome to this lecture. We're just going to quickly try to go over the syllabus in case you need it. Chapter 12, which is the Quick Start unit, and Chapter 17, which is Speaking in Digital Environments. These are two of the shortest chapters in the book, so it should be pretty brief. I just want kind of a gentle easing into the semester as we all get used to being back at school. So I'm just going to go over the syllabus. If you don't want to necessarily listen through this, you can just skip ahead until you see that I'm on the next slide. If you do want to go through it, you can pull it up in a different window and go through it with me, or you could just listen to me speak. But so either how, all of you are aware this is public speaking, SPCM 200. It's one of the most required classes on campus because public speaking is so important. We might not anticipate it's something that we all need within our professional fields, but even if it's not, it is something that constantly will come up in your personal life as well. If you need to give a wedding toast, a commemorative speech, a eulogy, anything like that, public speaking will probably be a facet of your life in one way or another. We all recognize that public speaking is one of the top fears of most Americans compared to death and things like that. We're hoping that through being in this class, you can kind of become more comfortable with the art of public speaking, and we can hopefully make it less intimidating for you. I do recognize the complete irony about the fact that we're starting a public speaking class online. It will be beneficial to you because as technology advances, the likelihood that you'll be speaking in a digital environment will just become more and more prevalent. So it is good practice for you to have in-person and digital experiences with public speaking. It just is kind of unfortunate that we can't bite the bullet with this quick start speech and get it through at the beginning, and instead you just have to still have that dread of I have to speak in front of people coming up. So anyhow, all of you know that this is a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class. If you're listening and you're in the 15 section, it's at 1 p.m. If you're listening and you're in the 49 section, you're at 10 a.m. I'm teaching two sections of Monday, Wednesday, Friday hybrid. And as all of you know, that just means that you will come 1/3 of the days. So if you go onto Canvas and you look at the what day do I attend class, you'll be able to find what day after February 5th, I believe, that we will be seeing each other face to face. The Monday or the 1 p.m. group, it's more likely that that schedule will stay the same. There haven't been as many adds or drops. However, for the 10 a.m. group, just kind of keep an eye out on it. I'll send out an announcement saying that it's changed just because that class is really fluctuating when it comes to enrollment. So the most important thing I would say is that since we are in a Monday, Wednesday, Friday online hybrid, yes, you'll be getting a lot of your lectures face-to-face throughout the semester, but it is vitally important that you keep up to date with the Canvas announcements I'll be doing, just because even though, like, for example, the course schedule says you should read certain chapters by certain dates, they might not necessarily be the lecture of the week, and you might not necessarily be quizzed over them that week. For example, we're going over 12 and 17 right now, but the orientation quiz is your quiz of the week. Just kind of keeping up to date. If you're ever confused about anything, reach out to me, but I'm going to try to be as clear and concise in those weekly announcements. So you are going to need the textbook for the semester. You can get that at the campus bookstore, but a lot of the material we'll be covering will have information directly from it. The kids from last semester kind of said that if you didn't have it, it was a little harder to keep up with what was going on, and the final is very content heavy from the textbook, so just something to consider. A lot of the quizzes that'll be happening throughout the semester will be directly pulled from the textbook itself, so if you have it, it's a huge advantage. So, of course, I'm not going to go through all of the COVID regulations because I'm sure we're all familiar with them now. But just when we are face-to-face, it's just the standard, wipe your desk off, maintain social distancing, always have a mask. The thing that's a little different in this classroom in particular, just because we're doing speeches in front of each other so often, is that when you go up, that doesn't mean you can take off your mask to speak. You will have to learn how to speak with a mask on. We'll have kind of a podium at the front of the classroom that you'll just have to wipe down after you're done with the speech, so it's cleaned off for the next speaker. And because of COVID requirements, you're not allowed to have any sort of visual aid. You could bring something physically if you wanted to like show off like a book or something that you can tangibly hold in your hands, that's fine. But in terms of everyone going up and using the computer at the front, that's just kind of too much of a liability, they deemed it, so we won't be using that. Some of you might hate that, others of you might be glad you don't have to make something like that. That's just what the rule is. Yeah, face masks are required. If you need any of the documents, I'm hoping that you're able to easily access them, but on that front page, so sorry if you can hear my email go off, but on that front page, how there's kind of like who meets today, start here, under class resources, that's where you can find the syllabus, the course schedule, and the syllabus addendum, and just various other documents that kind of will help you throughout the semester, just like worth noting. If you get COVID during the semester, just as with any class, make sure to let me know. Do not come. If you feel like you're getting sick at all, just stay home. Make sure to notify me and fill out that symptom checker. And yeah, just really same guidelines as any of your other classes. In terms of attendance, we're not allowed to dock off points for attendance because we don't want to penalize you for staying home if you think you have COVID, and it's just so hard to be able to tell like if someone's being truthful or not. It's just a whole thing. So attendance cannot be docked off. However, it is very vital that you do come to class if you can, because this is a very student-centric course where you need an audience to speak in front of. You need audience participation during the workshop days, so it's just very important that you're routinely coming to class. Tardiness, I prefer that you come to class on time. I've been tardy from time to time, so I'm not going to call you out or anything. The only thing that is specific to this class about it is that if it's a speech day, don't interrupt someone by walking into the classroom. Just kind of like stand outside if you know someone might be speaking and listen until you hear people clapping, and then you can enter the classroom. That's the only real caveat I have with tardiness. Of course, if you come to class like halfway through every single day, that's going to be kind of a distraction and kind of something to take note of, just because you're missing out on a lot of course content. The grades or the assignments are always in Canvas. I'm quite lenient when it comes to if you need an extension. That's just where you can kind of look and see when things are due. For example, the orientation quiz and the introductions are due tomorrow, January 22nd, but I do recognize that some of you have just come essentially into the class and might have missed that. So if you need that reopened in more time, just let me know. I'm more than willing to open that up. Since I was getting this video to you a little late, I extended the quick start speech deadline a little bit. All of that to just say essentially that if you find an issue with the due dates, I'm okay. I'm flexible. The final is a common final. That just means essentially that I have no control over the questions. I have no control over leniency. It's just something that kind of has to be uniform throughout all sections of SPCM 200 to make it as fair as possible. Academic integrity, same as any other class, just sometimes this gets a little tricky because people think that they can use their past work and then just turn it into a speech. You can plagiarize yourself. We do take it very seriously. It does happen quite often that students plagiarize themselves or others because they don't think that speeches are cited as much, but that's not true. We'll have a lecture in the future kind of going on about how to accurately cite something and avoid plagiarism, but just keep that in mind. We'll do Turn It In. For this upcoming speech, which I'll go more in depth here in a few minutes, but you don't have to submit an outline, so you don't have to worry about that as much. It's just a speech, so it's a speech where you wouldn't necessarily have to look up alternative information to even plagiarize in the first place. Accommodating special needs. If you need any sort of accommodation, just let me know. I'm more than willing to make it. And yeah, the course schedule is kind of an ongoing thing. You might notice even now, like, we're not going over chapters 1 through 3, even though it says it on there. It's just kind of like a flexible document. Just kind of like keep note of it in my Friday emails that I'll send out. That's what's most important to pay attention to. There will be 5 units in this class. That will be the Quick Start unit, the informative unit, the public deliberation, the policy, and the commemorative. They all kind of focus on different aspects of public speaking that will be important for you. They're like the 5 most common that you might actually stumble across in your professional or personal life, and they all have different things that are beneficial to you. Yeah, and then on the syllabus at the end, you can see the grading scale. This course is out of 1,000 points. You can get 10 extra credit points, but you can only get that when finals come around, because it's like a 10-point study guide you can fill out, kind of as an incentive for you to be studying. I figured that might be more beneficial because at the end you'll know if you need the extra credit points or not, rather than accidentally missing out on an opportunity at the beginning. The only other thing that I think I forgot to mention was late work. The most important thing is that you hit me up before something is late, so I know it's an issue, rather than retroactively saying like, oh, I didn't do that, can I do it now? Just out of like respect, and then I'm just more lenient that way, though I will open things retroactively on a case-by-case basis. Just kind of keep that in mind, that it's always better to reach out to me before it's a problem. But so, we're going on to the Quick Start unit. This is just a very brief quiz or speech. It does suck, I'll admit, that we have to do it online. I really don't like that because it kind of defeats the purpose of it. But all it is to get you comfortable with speaking, to get you used to speaking in public. Some of you actually probably will prefer this because it is asynchronous, so you don't have an audience watching you live and you can re-record it if you need to. But the purpose of this speech is just to get you up and speaking, just kind of used to it, and in a traditional setting to get you familiarized with your classmates. That's not as much of an option here. But so what you kind of need to know when thinking about a quick start speech, quick start isn't something that you'll hear outside of this specific class. It's more likely like a brief speech or just like a quick blurb or something like that. It's a speech where you're only going to be speaking for a very short, condensed amount of time, kind of like getting up and introducing someone or saying like, that was great, thank you everyone for coming, refreshments are over there. It's just something very quick, and these are just kind of the things to take into consideration when having to prepare a speech of this sort. So you just need to know what you need to know. That just essentially means don't try to over-research something. Don't try to pack too much information into something that's very short, because once you start going over, then it defeats the purpose of this being a brief speech. Have a single central argument, same as before. Don't go off on tangents when trying to explain something. And that kind of goes hand in hand with having a thesis statement. Thesis statements are a part of a speech that we'll be going over more throughout this semester. Just like in any of your English classes, how the thesis statement kind of embodies what your paper is about, the thesis statement in a speech kind of embodies what your speech is about. In something as brief as a quick start speech, it's going to be very bare bones. Like, this is essentially, you won't say it, this is my thesis statement, but you'll just have it, and that's what the entirety of your speech is about. Whereas in another speech, everything kind of branches off like a tree a bit more. 3 is jot it down. That's another important thing just for everyone to be aware of. You can absolutely have speaking guides or like any sort of like speaking material or aids with you when you go up if you need note cards. I prefer, like when we get face-to-face, I prefer you don't use laptops, but I understand that for some it's easier, and I do want to accommodate you in any way possible. It is totally possible that if you were in a public speaking setting, you could bring your laptop up, so I just want it to be as accurate to what you might be doing in the future, so whatever you're most comfortable with. But so in other words, having something jotted down can be beneficial because if you kind of get too nervous, you can look down at it and see it. But specifically within online digital formats, something I caution you to be wary of, and in traditional as well, is don't look like you're just reading off of a screen or reading off of your note card. So even though this is a short speech and you can have notes with you, it probably is just for the best that you have it memorized, because if you're just looking at your laptop screen when you should be making eye contact through the lens of the camera, it kind of hurts the speech. And then know how much time you have. In this specific quick start speech, we kind of did the average of what a brief speech will be because, brief is relative to what the whole event would be. Like in a 2-hour event, a 5-minute speech is brief. In a 1-hour event, that's a significant chunk of time. In this specific assignment, it will be a 2 to 3 minute speech. Just kind of be cautious of that. The quick start speech is pass or fail, so you won't be docked points. If you kind of like go over or under, last semester people really struggled to meet a minute because they were so nervous. Just kind of be conscientious of time and try to do that because you're going to have to fit within time parameters when we move on to the other speeches. So this is good practice for that. And then 6, keep it casual. Despite the fact that I just listed off like 5 different rules to you, just relax. This is completely an environment where everyone's supportive of one another. No one is, in specifically this digital format, that wouldn't make sense because we're not seeing each other. But like in any public speaking format, no one is waiting for you to fail. No one watches you go up and they're like, oh, I hope she stumbles over her words. I hope she forgets what she's saying. Everyone wants to listen to a good speech so they don't get bored. And besides, when we're in public speaking, the actual class, everyone is worried about their own speech. People are paying attention, but everyone kind of has those nervous jitters of, oh my God, like, I have to go. She's doing such a good job. I hope I can be like that. Da, 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 da. Like, everyone, no one cares as much as you do, except me. I will be in the audience completely. All my attention is on you, rooting for you, wishing for the best. But, just don't go into something assuming that it's going to go bad. Just go there to have a good time. So for this one in particular, the topic is show and tell. So just go up there with your item that you want to explain and be laid back about it. Of course, this is through a camera, but I understand as well that online digital speaking can be more awkward even than in-person speaking. I'm not the best digital platform speaker. I will not deny. It's not like something I struggle with, but I don't like it as much. But so anyhow, for this assignment, the speech should be 2 to 3 minutes. This should be a little easier because if you're recording on your phone or recording on your laptop, you can see how long it is. So just, that's not to say like finish at 1:45 and then just make a bunch of like filler words and like, yeah, so thank you so much. I really appreciated this. Like you can end then, that's fine. But just try to make that 2 to 3 minute range. Something just to keep in mind for the future. It doesn't really apply as much to this speech since it's so short and it is pass fail, but I do have like a 30-second grace period during normal speeches. So if the speech was like, let's say 6 to 8 minutes, if you met 5:30 to 8:30 or whatever, that's fine. You won't be docked any points. If you did less or more than that, that's when the deductions start accruing. When you look at this on the assignment page of Canvas, you should be able to upload either a YouTube link, Microsoft Stream. You could upload a file directly through Canvas. I'm very flexible about how you want to upload this. It's really up to you. whatever you prefer. We'll kind of go into what those options might entail within the digital environment chapter we're about to go into. But whatever is easiest for you, because I understand that uploading videos online can be a bit of a pain. And as mentioned earlier, this is pass-fail. That doesn't mean don't do it, because you will be getting feedback. You will have to do a self-evaluation form, and it's just important. So, Chapter 17, Speaking in Digital Environments. This one, to be honest, clearly this book was written pre-pandemic. I'm pretty sure all of us know about speaking in digital environments because we're clearly second semester. We are in college. We're in the thrush of it right now. But we're still going to kind of go through it for those kind of nitty-gritty details that do matter that people sometimes can overlook. But so a digital environment are sites where people gather to share ideas in new ways made possible by contemporary technological advances. So examples of this, of course, Skype presentations, online lectures, live streaming mobile speeches, and that genuinely can even include like an Instagram live that a celebrity does. If they're just kind of like laid back and eating something, probably not, but just in most where they're talking to an audience, that is a form of speaking in a digital environment. TED Talks, podcasts, online tutorials, online political announcements. I think none of those really would stand out to us. The only thing that might be interesting about these is the fact that through podcast, we can see that this doesn't necessarily have to be a solely visual and audio medium. Speaking in a digital platform can merely be audio. So things to consider when public speaking. I think that was supposed to be speaking in a digital environment, but think about the audio. I think because I'm recording this on my laptop that you can hear like a gentle humming in the background. That's not the worst thing, but I'll acknowledge that this is not the best quality of audio possible. So also, I guess, preface before I go too into these, I will never dock you on not having like the highest end technology to record things. We're not going to have classism here. Just try to do the best that you can to make sure that you are seen and heard. But either how. So in terms of audio, just considering when speaking in a digital platform, depending on if you're doing something very, very important or something kind of lower stakes, is that you want to make sure that your audiences can hear you legibly. Like, don't have your microphones covered. Don't just be a muffled sound in the background. And try to avoid having, like, you can only hear from, like, one speaker. Just all of those different things we've encountered in the wild in the digital environment. Video quality, we've all seen like those videos that look like they were recorded from a potato, like the 240 peg or whatever. Try to be as crystal clear as possible. Sometimes video quality also goes hand in hand with, do you have good lighting? Are you visible? Are you too far away from the camera? Which goes hand in hand with framing, which is the next point. The point I have most with this, that I want you to consider, because even though this is in what I hope and I'm making a laid back class, it still is an assignment. You are turning in assignments. So when you turn in a speech, try to be as professional as possible. Like, try to have the camera set up in a way that I can see like your shoulders upwards, like your head. I don't really care what's in your background because like I have a lot of crap around my apartment, but try not to have anything too inappropriate, like someone smoking a joint in the background wouldn't be the best. Just kind of things like that to consider, because you don't want anything to draw attention away from your speech too much. But all of this to say, when you submit a speech, the reason that I have framing as something important is like, I don't want it to look like I'm on Omegle with you. So like, please don't have your laptop in your lap. I don't know. It just feels uncomfortable for everyone involved. That's just a personal preference, something to take into consideration. The length of the video, that just kind of will make things tricky depending on where you're trying to upload it, because it'll take more time if it's a longer video. Some places only accept videos at this certain file size, just different things like that. Permanence is how long will this video be up there? Are you submitting a video somewhere where now that video is in someone else's hands and they can do whatever they want with it? Is this a video that you can take down like shortly thereafter? And that kind of goes into circulation. And the reason I emphasize these two is because one of the popular ways of sharing videos, I guess, to SPCM 200, a way that a lot of students did it was to upload the video to YouTube or Vimeo or something like that, and then just share the link, which is absolutely fine. However, one of our assignments is to do a discussion board where we just talk about like different examples we found from around the web of an informative speech, of a public deliberation, etc., etc. And last semester I had a lot of students who were uploading other SPCM 200 student semesters videos from like the semester prior. And I feel like that's embarrassing. Like, we're all kind of uploading these videos for learning. We're uploading these videos just to kind of like get a grade in class. So with that, just acknowledge that if you have a video on YouTube on a public setting, that means it's up for anyone. And do you want your learning progress to be shared for forever? That's why I recommend if you're going to do a YouTube video, you do that unlisted option or whatever, where it's just only people who have the link can see it. But that's just kind of what those things mean, of how long is that video going to be available to people online, and how easily is that video going to get around. We've all seen things go viral that are embarrassing moments for other people. You don't want to be that person. Consider your audience. Something just, you kind of, it's hard because, again, not to constantly diss on this, but damn it, we're online. You can't tell your audience as much, but ultimately what matters most is that I am your central audience. I'm the one that you need to focus on the most, and that doesn't mean that you need to tailor everything to me. Absolutely not at all. Do not tailor things to me. It just means, okay, I guess I should rephrase that. It means that I am your professor, so maybe don't come up with like a Blaze It 420 like Family Guy shirt on when you're giving your speech, but it more so means try to speak in a professional manner. I'm not bad, like, go ahead and swear if you want to, as long as it's not gratuitous. But what matters for this most is that, let's say, within our classroom environment, like, someone clearly is uncomfortable with one thing or another. If you choose to speak about that subject, then clearly you're going to make that one person uncomfortable, and it becomes targeting in a way. We'll speak about this more in a few chapters, like I can't remember what one it is off the top of my head, but you kind of want to be conscientious of your audience, because ultimately you never want to make anyone super uncomfortable. Format and advances in technology. This kind of means just considering when speaking in a public environment, like how YouTube's gone through so many changes. So sometimes when you watch videos of older YouTubers, you can hear them say something like, click the link to the right and subscribe. And it doesn't make any sense because now the subscribing stuff is underneath them. It's just different things like that where you might date yourself if you're referencing something that is clearly a piece of time, essentially. And then speaking in digital style, referencing like embedding things within the video, like URLs, just different things like that. But so, either how, hope this wasn't too long. The things that you need to be focusing on right now are, you need to do your introductions, which are in the discussion board. Those are due by January 22nd, Friday, tomorrow, depending on when you're listening to this. And those are not graded, but I do highly, highly request that you do them, because it's very hard to get to know each other when we can't see each other. Orientation quiz, do the same day. For both of those, if you just joined the class and maybe they're already closed or something, just let me know and I'll open that up for you and you can get like another week on it. The quick start speech it was due Monday, but I pushed it back to Friday just because this video is coming so late to you. But yeah, that was all I had. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. If you really would prefer to do learning in a synchronous way, reach out to me and we can discuss it. But yeah, I hope all of you have a great day.